Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and yeah, I know I've done a few of these pretty recently, but you know, the news and events and craziness just keeps on happening, so I figured I would do kind of another little bonus video for you guys. This is kind of going to be another event, and kind of a gaming news update sort of a thing. I usually do these events and update videos, on average, maybe once a month or so. I know I didn't do them quite as often early in the year because there really wasn't a lot happening, but things since then have generally really picked up. I will try to be doing these things usually, give or take once a month or so. But, I'm gonna also, I think, kind of start doing these things as I feel there are interesting things to talk about, because either A, I wait until, the next month's video or something, and then the news really isn't that relevant and no one cares anymore, or I've forgotten about it, or, whatever. And, there are just certain things that, there's big news or big events happening, and like I said, with the ton of events that have been happening over this summer, without an E3, with there being no new we have two new consoles coming out here in a couple months. There's been a lot going on, a lot of hardware stuff going on with Apple and everything else. We still got another one of those events probably in the next month or so. So you never know. But yeah. So I did one of these pretty recently, but quite a few things have happened since then, and we're going to get to the big one that you see on the screen because that in a moment, because that is kind of going to be the main topic for today. But I did want to touch on a few other quick things. First of all, we had another one of those Night City Wire events for Cyberpunk, and I've been wishing it for quite a while now, because I'm kind of on the verge of getting a new PC upgrade, but with the availability of these new NVIDIA cards and systems and everything like that, I don't know when that's going to happen or when I'll decide to do that. And Cyberpunk being one of those games that I have been really looking forward to, I'm like, boy, what are the system requirements for this game? Will I even be able to play it? And I was secretly hoping that I would be able to, especially since this game is coming out on the current platforms, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So if I can run it on there, you'd think I'd be able to run it on the PC. And the good news is, we can. I should be able to run it pretty well, actually. Their system requirements are pretty reasonable, actually, and even for the recommended requirements, they wanted like a 1060 GeForce 1060 graphics card, and I only have a 980. But when you look at like the lower tiers of like the 10 series versus the 9 series, the higher end of the 9 are kind of pretty close to the low end of the 10 series, and so I meet the minimum system specs pretty easily, and I'm at or above the recommended. I mean, minus all the ray tracing and stuff like that I'm not going to be able to do until my next machine. But I'm just glad that I'll be able to give the game a try because it's one that I'm just genuinely curious about. So yeah, Cyberpunk in November. Everyone's going to be getting their new consoles. I'm going to be trying some Cyberpunk, so that will be cool. And just earlier today, we had an update from Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards. I forget the exact date, like December 10th or something like that. But, they have their Game Awards show every year for the past several years. And he sent out a Twitter message earlier today that I saw. And they are announcing a new category that is for best game accessibility, kind of in the game accessibility category. And I think that's an excellent suggestion, or I think that's an excellent category, to have, people talk about, well, we want more people to play our games. We want more people to play our games. And they use the word accessible, but they're not using, they're just saying, hey, we just want more people to buy our stuff. They're not necessarily thinking about the player's abilities that are playing each game. They're just like, well, we just kind of want more people to buy it, make it look cool, make it whatever. But yeah, we're getting a new accessibility category, which I definitely like. And I don't know if they're going to be, how they're going to be breaking it down as far as like, are they going to have some categories for, best game or studio? Are they going to have maybe, it'd be cool if they also had somebody represented each year, maybe from the disability community, be it a streamer or YouTube channel, or just, somebody like an advocate, something like that. But I could see a couple of different things happening there, and it'll be interesting to see what the Game Awards does with the category. But, I think that's a really great thing because, a lot of people just shrug off most type of award shows. I mean, I don't watch any of them, like the Oscars or any of these other ones. I'm like, I've never watched them. I've caught the Game Awards a couple of times, and, it is what it is. I mean, some of them, in the beginning, they weren't quite as good. The last couple of years, they've gotten a fair bit better. But, with the wide variety of people watching these shows, I think it's great to see things like diversity and accessibility be included in these type of award shows, and especially with game accessibility and XR accessibility, things kind of starting to take off and actually be considered by more, game developers and hardware developers, hopefully. This will just be kind of another thing, and it'll just make more people aware of it and make more developers aware of it, and just make this practice more widely accepted in the mainstream. So I think only good can come from this, hopefully. And it's funny because we were already kind of joking on Twitter, like, well, gee, we already know what's going to win this year. And I mean, barring something being completely just over the top amazing, I mean, The Last of Us 2 is just an absolute, dominates this category in 2020. But, like I said in my tweet that I retweeted, or that I said, way to start with, raising the bar so high right from the beginning, because I don't really know how any other game can win. I mean, I'm not discounting any of these other games, because a lot of games have been adding accessibility features, and quite a few of them, and I think that's fantastic. But man, I mean, you look at all the crazy stuff that The Last of Us has done. I just think that the whole world getting to see that is going to be cool. So, yeah, that was a cool surprise to find on my Twitter feed this afternoon. Like I said, I talked about Cyberpunk, talked about that. On to the big news. Looking at a page here, Xbox plus Bethesda. Yeah. Boy, that came out of nowhere. That was as I'm recording this, that was a yesterday thing. I believe that was or was it Monday? Was it Monday or Tuesday? Heck, I can't even remember now. But earlier this week, again, started seeing a couple things on Twitter. I didn't check. I was busy that morning, and I really didn't check social media at all until probably close to midday, and then I just saw like my Twitter feed blown up of like, holy crap, no way. So Microsoft has been buying a lot of game studios, a lot of smaller ones and mid-tier ones over the past several years, because one of the main complaints that players have had from Microsoft especially the last couple, 2-3 years, is that their first party support, their first party games selection is comparatively kind of weaker than your Sony exclusives lineup. You know, Sony, you've got God of War, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, Horizon. You know, I mean, there's probably a good half a dozen more that I'm blanking on right now. But they've had some pretty stellar first party and especially single player focused exclusives. And you know, Microsoft, they've had their mostly annual Forza games. They've had the Gears titles, Halo, although Halo has kind of been struggling a little bit more the last couple of games. But you know, with Infinite getting pushed back and everything, we have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice and their sequel. We've got a few other things. We've got Rare doing a few things. You know, your Sea of Thieves. But there's not really that one game, you know, like, you know, again, you look at God of War, you look at Spider-Man, you look at Horizon, you look at just The Last of Us, you look at any of these, you know, studios, any of these games on Sony's side, and over the last few years, there really just hasn't been that, you know, that one series or that one game that is just nailing it. You know, Gears has been pretty popular. But like I said, Halo 4, I started. Halo 5, I started. But the last Halo game I think that I actually finished, I think I might have finished Reach. I know I finished ODST. I don't know, like I said, I don't remember if I finished Reach. I know I played it. But either Reach or Halo 3 was the last one I actually finished. I like the idea of Halo 4 because that was one I think where Cortana her AI went rampant and he was trying to go after her. Or I don't remember. That might have even been 5. Like I said, I don't remember. Prior to Halo Infinite, I have to, I guess, brush up on my Halo lore. But, I mean, Microsoft just hasn't had that kind of wow factor. But earlier this week, Microsoft officially bought Bethesda. And so it's not exactly clear how things are going to be working in the future. But as you see these list of games right here, I mean, our franchises, we have Dishonored, we have Wolfenstein, Skyrim, we've got Fallout, Doom, I mean, there's just so many. Starfield, The Evil Within, and Prey. These are, you know, it's not just id. It's not just like Machine Games. There's a whole group of studios. I mean, look at the last, was it 2-3 years, Bethesda has actually had their own conference. You know, we have Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, EA, and, you know, Ubisoft, that kind of a thing. But Bethesda's gotten big enough and has enough franchises now where they've had their own E3 press conference. But now, you know, maybe they're not going to have their own press conference anymore. Maybe they're going to be, I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with that. Or if they'll just, Microsoft will be like, yeah, go ahead and you can still announce your stuff, but, you know, you're just part of us. Or if they're going to, you know, I know they'll fold more of that into the Xbox press briefings in the future, I'm sure. But I'm curious what's going to happen with that. But I mean, these are some strong titles. I mean, the fact of, look at how highly acclaimed Doom was. Doom 2016, Doom Eternal. We got the expansion pack coming out in October, I believe it is. You know, Wolfenstein 1 and 2. I know we're going to have a third one because we got to finish that whole story arc. You know, we had Youngblood, which was not my favorite, but it was an interesting diversion, interesting attempt. But, you know, you have the Wolfenstein games. Dishonored, that's a huge one. I mean, all the open world games that you have, Skyrim, Fallout. You know there's going to be a new Elder Scrolls game. There's eventually going to be a new Fallout game. Whatever the heck Starfield is going to be. Prey, that was actually a really, really cool systems-based first-person shooter. You know, kind of reminded me a lot of something like System Shock. So these are, not only are they really like high quality games and developers, but I think it was actually a really smart acquisition because, Xbox has always kind of had that shooter actiony style. Especially the original Xbox. You got Halo, and then the 360 came. You had things like Gears of War. They had the Call of Duty partnership for a while, where they had exclusives on that. But there's been just like a lot of shooters and a lot of, Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim. I mean, those all really started out on PC and the Xbox. So I think it's actually a perfect fit. And what I'm hoping, as far as like the part of Bethesda that does Skyrim and Fallout, I mean, I'm hoping that maybe with this partnership, maybe they can be either given more resources or time or people or tools or something. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Fallout 4. I really want to get back into Skyrim again because I never finished it. But that engine, as cool as those games are, it's getting a little jank. It would be nice to be able to polish that up a little bit and, not get so many of those weird odd bugs and just strange things that happen. I mean, that engine does a lot of work, but it also does a lot of really weird things. Just go look up any kind of like Elder Scrolls or Fallout bug videos, and there's some really gnarly stuff that happens. I mean, some of it is amusing, to be fair. And mostly when I've played, it's generally been okay, but there's still some jank I think that could be worked out for some of those. So, I mean, I would love another Elder Scrolls game. I would love to see what that is. And, with this Starbound or whatever, I don't know. Are you going to be exploring Are you going to go down on the planet level? Are you going to be on space stations? Are you going to be in ships? Are you going to be... Is it going to be like a No Man's Sky kind of a thing? I have no idea. And I don't know when we're going to get to see it, but it is some big news because in addition to all the other studios that Microsoft has purchased in the last couple of years now, they've got some big ones. Everything under that Bethesda umbrella, you've got a lot of just every one of these games I'm either interested in, I've played, or I really like. So that's the other question is, up until now, these have been pretty much third-party games. Skyrim comes out on everything. Doom is also on pretty much everything. Wolfenstein. Hell, the Switch has Doom 2016, and it runs okay from what I've heard. But now, they did say that they're going to evaluate each future game release on a game-by-game basis. So my guess would be, especially with the way that Microsoft is doing things, is that it'll probably be like a timed exclusive, because Microsoft seems to be really pushing the fact of, we want you to play anywhere, we want you to play with anyone, be able to play anywhere, anyone, with anyone, whatever platform you want. I mean, it's going to come to PC and Xbox first, obviously. And some of them may be exclusives, some may be timed exclusives. But, I could see things, especially that are typically thought of third party. I could see other, PS5 or something getting an eventual port. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with that. And the other huge part of this is, I don't think they're part of it yet, but look at all these franchises. Look at all these games. All of these are going to also start being part of Game Pass. So Microsoft Game Pass, you guys, is getting just ridiculously a good deal. It's just getting kind of crazy, actually, and I'm just surprised of how much content can go on there, because now You have all these Microsoft studio games, these first-party games. You have EA coming there later, at least a portion of EA Play coming. So you'll be able to at least try some EA games. Now you have all of Bethesda's stuff potentially coming to Game Pass. And then you have, you know, a rotating base of third-party games that will kind of cycle in and out of Game Pass. Not to mention, if you also are, you know, you get the Game Pass Ultimate, you have the Xbox Live kind of a thing, you get your games with gold. I mean, Xbox is like giving away stuff and letting you try stuff like crazy. And again, this being an accessibility channel, think about this from an accessibility standpoint. How many times have people wondered, how many times have I wondered, this game looks cool, but I don't know if it's going to be something I can see well enough to play, or, you know, this aspect of it, is the text too small, or will my machine, if I'm running it on PC, will my machine be able to run it? All of those things, but especially like an accessibility checker. You know, I can, if I'm subscribed for this Game Pass Ultimate, $15 a month right now, I get access to all these different things on my Xbox and on my Windows PC through the Windows Game Store or the Windows Store. I can just go browse their catalog of Game Pass titles, and I can use the Game Pass app on my phone if I want to. And I can see what's there, see if something looks interesting, download it for no charge. You know, I'm just paying the subscription. Just download it to my system, PC or console, try it out, play it. If it works, excellent. I can keep playing it. If it doesn't work, I'm not out any extra money. You know, I don't have to worry about refunds. I don't have to worry about paying $60 a game, possibly $70 for a game, as that seems to be kind of a trend that is sneaking into the next generation of consoles. So, you know, again, everybody, you know, just a kind of a PSA here, you know, everyone that's complaining about, oh, I gotta pay $5 for this iOS game, I don't want to pay for an audio game, I don't want to pay for a voiceover game. You guys got it easy, man. Mainstream games, I mean, yeah, some of them are cheaper. You can get some of them, you know, $5, $10, $20. But your average big AAA mainstream game, you're looking at $60 minimum, possibly $70 being a base, and that's not including if you count like a special edition, or you count, you know, that comes with extra stuff, or you count a season pass, you count DLC, you count microtransactions, you count add-ons. I mean, I'm sorry, like I can't really, you know, yes, you got to support the developers, you know, and until, I mean, really right now, accessible games are not charging. I think they're actually undercharging for their content in a lot of cases, to be honest with you. They could be charging more. So, you know, I just think about people complaining about, you know, where's my coupon code? Oh, if only you had to buy real, you know, regular games. And like I said, as more of these games have accessibility features, guess what? That's one of the things that you're going to get inducted into, you know. If you're not buying a game, or if you're not playing a game through something like Game Pass, you're going to be forking over a little bit of extra money than what you're typically used to for text and audio games. So, but that, again, that's where Game Pass is becoming such a good deal. I've discovered games, I've played a few games that I probably wouldn't have purchased on my own, but I'm like, well, they're part of my subscription, let's give them a try. And I found that I liked them. And there's also been a couple of games that I've tried that I thought I would like and went, you know what, I'm glad I played it on Game Pass, because I'm glad I didn't pay $20-$30 for this game. So it works both ways. But yeah, Xbox, Microsoft buying Bethesda, pretty big deal. So, you know, depending on what kind of games you like, now I think the playing field is a little bit more even. Microsoft has definitely got some heavy hitters on their side. They already have the stuff that they already had. The Forza, the Gears, the Halo, all that kind of stuff. But now they've got a whole bunch of these Bethesda games. Sony's got their stuff. We have the prices. We have the release dates. There's kind of been pre-orders for both systems, although from what I hear, both of those have been nothing but a fiasco at this point. Like, bots are snapping them up because retailers aren't really doing anything to try to combat that, and that really needs to change because it's very, very obnoxious. I mean, it didn't affect me this time because I really didn't feel I needed to pre-order either one of these systems, but you know, I understand completely wanting to try to get something at release date and then having everything snapped up. I mean, I've tried to go to concerts in the past where it's like, oh, I want to get a ticket for this popular band, and the tickets sell out in like 3 nanoseconds. So yeah, but you know, assuming you can find one, both systems are available to pre-order. On Xbox's side, you have the Series S coming in at $299, the X coming in at $499. You have Sony coming in at $399 and $499 for the hard drive only, and then the disc version, respectively. So, you know, the high end is exactly the same on price. Sony's base model is a little bit higher, but you get a little bit more storage. But again, you know, and Microsoft is also offering, you look at Game Pass, and you look at if you don't care about 4K, but you want to be able to run these games, you could get the $300 model, and you get Game Pass. You've got a heck of a library already. Not to mention, they're offering a, oh God, what do they call the plan? I think it's Xbox All Access, where you can spend $25 or $35 a month, and you basically are paying for the system over 2 years, and you're getting the Xbox Game Pass and Live and everything, like everything, the whole shebang, for $25 to $35, depending on what system you get, per month. That's not a bad way to go. You know, you got a huge library. You don't even have to start worrying about buying games right away. Even if a new game comes out, like Halo or something, it's on Game Pass. Go grab it. So, yeah, I knew Microsoft was talking about buying, you know, there was talk about them buying something about like Warner Brothers, like the Batman or the Mortal Kombat stuff, like, you know, studios that do that kind of stuff. And we also heard that they're thinking about even buying more first-party studios. So who knows what other crazy announcements we might get in the next weeks or months. But this one, you know, like I said, they've bought a lot of studios before. But this one, I think, at least to me, it feels like one of the most significant. Kind of like when they bought Rare. You know, Rare was known for, they were the Nintendo studio during the N64 days. And we were shocked back then when Microsoft went, oh yeah, by the way, no, we bought Rare. And so now Rare stuff is going to be first party Microsoft. And that's kind of a similar thing of like, you know, Bethesda's out there being independent, doing their own thing, and they have their own suite of studios, and then boom, here we go. Microsoft owns them. But like I said earlier, I think the partnership actually really works. I just watched a video from Xbox Major Nelson, their podcast that they do. They had Phil Spencer on, and then they had a couple of guys, Todd Howard, and, oh God, I forget his name. I'm sorry, guy. But they had a couple guys from Bethesda Studios on, just kind of talking about the partnership, and they had a few really good stories in there. I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in this topic, definitely check out that. I did retweet it earlier. Check out that about a half-hour interview, because I thought it was pretty interesting, and they told some amusing stories about like doing trade show or E3 demos, and a couple little things that they did for getting a couple of the older games to work, and kind of neat stories that I'd never heard before. So yeah, I think it fits really well. Now we got both consoles coming out. We got Cyberpunk coming out. We've got all kinds of stuff happening. Nintendo's doing their thing. There's some rumors about them doing, again, some kind of a beefed up Switch next year. So who knows what'll be there. But yeah, that's kind of a few updates that I wanted to talk about. Just briefly mention Cyberpunk, talk about all this Microsoft news. They're just making all kinds of news lately. And again, to wrap it up here, if you haven't signed up already, I think you can still do so. It is free, and I can't wait. Monday and Tuesday next week is going to be the 4th annual Game Accessibility Conference. Yes, they're having it over 2 days this week. They've announced just tons of different speakers and sessions that they are going to be having. I attended last year's and spoke at last year's in person in March. In March, and then we listened to the European version last fall, and I believe it was October. So they're just very, if you're into games, if you're into game accessibility, whether you're a developer, an advocate, or just a player, especially right now since this version is free, you can find out and you can stream it from your own home, no travel required. I would definitely recommend checking it out, because this will give you a good idea what the conference is all about. Might find out some interesting things about some of the games that are either out there already or coming out. You never know. And should you want to attend a show in the future in person when hopefully things are able to open up again, hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. But other people are just not making it any easier, just going out and doing stuff and spreading the plague when they shouldn't be. But I digress. I definitely recommend just going to gaconf.org, I believe it is, or just do a Google search for Game Accessibility Conference or GAConf, and you'll find it. And I'm very much looking forward to that on Monday and Tuesday. I'll be definitely glued to my screen for those couple of days. And then there's actually another assistive technology conference later in the week on October 1st and 2nd. This one you do have to pay for. It's like $250 or so. I might be able to go through work. It's a virtual conference, but I might be going to that through work, so I may also have some thoughts on that. Next week is just going to be fully loaded with events and conferences and all kinds of stuff. So should be an interesting week. I think that's really about it. Like I said, I'm not going to be doing these as often all of the time. But if there is a major piece of news or a major topic or major, accessibility something, I'm not going to hold myself to, I'm only going to do these once a month. I'm only going to do these once every other month. I'm just going to do these events and update videos. Try to do them on a fairly regular basis, but if I end up cranking through, one every week, every once in a while, just because there's that much craziness happening, so be it. I don't mind doing these, and it's kind of fun just to get my thoughts out there. I did start streaming again last weekend on Twitch, so we had a little Fall Guys stream, and thank you to we had like 2 or 3 people join the chat last weekend, and that was pretty fun. We had a nice little discussion. They asked some good questions about the upcoming consoles and games, and which consoles were more accessible, and if you were looking at getting one of these new consoles, which would be the right way to go. And so that was kind of an interesting discussion. I guess I can do a quick summary here, since it is definitely relevant. It's not an easy answer, because I wish I could say, oh, this one is definitely good, or they're both good, or whatever. From a hardware accessibility standpoint, Xbox definitely is in the lead. Their dashboard has spoken consistently for 2 or 3 years or more. I can't even remember when it first happened, but it's been, I can go into the store, I can go do my social stuff, I can buy games, manage them, launch them, delete them, whatever. I can do all of that. A lot of the third-party apps do work. I found out that YouTube apparently does not, because it has to be different and use its own interface. But I know Amazon does, the Amazon Video does, I think Netflix does, I think I've tried that. So that kind of stuff works. Sony, the PS4, has text-to-speech, but it's very limited. You get the very top level or two of menu navigation, and then when you go into anything past that, you generally get this message that says text-to-speech is not enabled here. So that's a real bummer. There's a lot of gaps in the PS4 interface, and so I haven't heard anything. I have not heard of any updates for the PlayStation 5. I don't know if they have fixed and expanded some of the text-to-speech stuff. Like, I know both consoles do have some sort of a zoom or magnification feature in them as well. But as far as text-to-speech goes for a totally blind user, Microsoft is way ahead of the game there. They have their adaptive controller. So that's a thing. So they've got a good variety of accessibility as far as navigating the systems go. The games, on the other hand, are a bit tricky because there are games that people do play on both systems. A lot of blind players play fighting games. Your Killer Instinct, your Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Skullgirls, all that kind of a thing. Although Skullgirls, this speech stuff is only really on PC. But you could still play it if you learn the menus, just like any other fighting game. Of course, the PlayStation 4, and thus if you're getting the PlayStation 5, you'll be able to play it. You can play The Last of Us Part 2, which is the definitive, so far, it's just the gold standard in mainstream game accessibility, AAA game accessibility at this point, because God is it good. So you have that. I don't know what PS5 is going to do on their system navigation, but The Last of Us is stellar. Microsoft, a lot of their games do have, again, a base level of text-to-speech, but again, it's maybe your main menu, maybe a pause menu, but no real games are doing in-game interfaces and navigation. So if you need to read your quest log or adjust your stats or skill trees or anything like that, look at the map, good luck. Those are not, like Minecraft Dungeons probably has the best in-game text-to-speech, but if you're totally blind, it's still difficult because, like, navigating the actual world, there are no in-world, like, navigation cues, really. So that can be difficult, if not impossible, in some places. So, we're just really going to have to see in the next year or so as these new consoles come out and as people see what The Last of Us did, see what some of these indie games are doing, Eagle Island, Sequence Storm, Skullgirls, all these different things. You get the mainstream attention that the Game Awards are going to give. That's cool. We're just going to have to see in the next couple of years what games are going to start offering for their in-game accessibility. But if you're looking at a console itself and want to use it as a media device as well as a gaming machine, the Xbox One or the Xbox Series X or S may be a good first bet if you're looking at a console. Yeah, that was another thing with the pre-orders, because I've always said that, for a tech user, it's not that big a deal, but for your, Joe Schmo out there that's just like a casual gaming fan, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, Xbox One S, Series S, apparently because of their, again, bots and everything and high demand, I guess there was some stories about people accidentally buying Xbox Ones when they meant to try to pre-order the new machines because the names are similar and they didn't pay enough attention or they didn't know any better. So yeah, I mean, naming your consoles, naming your technology, have something unique or that differentiates itself can be useful. Like I've always made fun of the iPad. The old new iPad, the new old iPad, and it's like, okay. So yeah, that's kind of been another thing, but I hope that does help if anyone is looking at getting a new system. And what I also said during that stream was that if you also want to play console and PC games, and if you're looking at more of an Xbox sort of a thing, you might just consider a decently up-to-date PC. Because, again, you got your Game Pass, and you buy an Xbox One controller, you can play things with a keyboard, you can play things with the keyboard and mouse, you can play it with the controller, you have Xbox Game Pass for the Xbox games, you have Steam or GOG, you have all of the accessible games that happen to come out for the PC that you just download from the web somewhere. You've kind of got your all-in-one game system because so many things are cross-platform with the PC now that's why I'm going to go look for a system with a 3080 and start there. So I think that's where we will wrap it up. Hopefully this video was helpful and interesting, and hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. I do a lot of posts and updates and general retweets and a whole bunch of different stuff there. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, and illegally-cited.com. So until next time, we'll wrap it up here, and I will chat with you guys again later.